Yeah, I'm feeling great. I just had some popcorn. Probably all down my chest.
Yeah, it was good. And I don't really know. The only thing with the talking more about the music, the thing about culture is we sort of had our own synthesizer sort of process where the ideas were so hard to get through that had to get through all of us to get to the final stage, which is why the quality was so good, particularly for those first Coloured by Numbers and those albums. You know, we really tried to take the best ideas. George was so many ideas, and I was writing this, and we're like, that's a good one, let's take that. And some of them were literally Church of Poison Mind, Time, Miss Me, were literally just jam sessions. Just us three jamming, and John started playing a Motown beat and started doing some chords, and within like 10 minutes, Church of Poison Mind was written, and then George just started going off. It's crazy the way he writes lyrics. He's such a genius and so talented, and it was an amazing time. It really was.
Yeah. I think the best one of all was Karma Chameleon. It was written in about 3 minutes, flat, literally. George came into the rehearsal room with this idea and everything. Nobody liked it. Roy hated it. To stop the band, I was kind of Dr. Kissinger of the band, you know. So I had to stop the band breaking up. I said, Roy, just come in and just play it through. So we played it through once. I said, George will forget about it, don't worry about it. So we got to the studio, we did the album, completed the whole album. Everyone's ready to go, leave. George's like, no, hold on. I've got one more idea here. It's that Karma Chameleon idea. So we ended up recording it, and the rest is history.
I have more questions, guys.
Sorry.
We don't need questions.
We just ramble on.
I see why it was so easy to make the documentary. No, but actually, I don't want to give you space to speak about that. Like, what about this band, what about their overall story pushed you towards making this album?
About the music and the individual creative souls that went into creating this beautiful music.
And for you guys, like, you mentioned how lovely the process was and how excited you were to just see the final product. But of course, putting your lives, your careers in the hands of a filmmaker, we've heard all the stories of bands who have lots of thoughts and opinions about that. What about Allison's work or pitch made it seem like, okay, let's do this, let's give it a shot and join her vision and bring this to out?
Well, I didn't really know Alison before she interviewed me for the film, so I didn't really know what to expect. That's why I when it was finished, I was sent a link to watch the film. And I didn't use the link, it expired. You know? I was so scared. Because, in the past there's been some dreadful stuff done about us. And finally I did, my wife said, come on, for God's sakes, put yourself together, let's watch this. And I watched it and I thought it was absolutely fantastic. And I'm so pleased that finally we have a nice piece of work.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys know Alison's work, and as soon as her name was mentioned through the production company to me, I did a bit of a dive and said, oh, she did that. Oh, Eagles, that's good. Oh, she did that. That's Cindy Lauper. She did Go-Go's. Oh, yeah. So, her reputation, and these people were happy. So it was a natural thing, for sure. Yeah, we like that.
I won't take up more time because I'm sure many fans here have questions. Audience, right here in the front.
So my question might be a little. I didn't expect you to come to it, so it's a musical question to some degree. I've seen a lot of bands throughout the decades. They blow up in a particular decade, but then they go to another one. It's kind of like a hit and miss. What's the process like? You adapt into new culture, new era, and you came on board with this particular sound and style and music, electronically speaking. But could you tell me your initial decades would be based on freestyling jam sessions? Going to the next decade, was that always the case, or how do you decide on,
Well, I think our influences when we were growing up stayed with us. I mean, it was you know, listening to the radio in England in the 60s and 70s when we were growing up, you heard everything. You heard everything from Motown to glam rock to rock music to sort of silly gimmick music and you know, and lots of different things. And I think that every one of us took a part of that with us. So I think those influences stay with you for your life. That stuff you were listening to when you were younger. George went more into the dance thing afterwards with his DJ stuff. I went into composition and things like that a bit more. But I think when we get back together, it's those roots. We still love to do reggae and soul. Really, that's the forte of the band. And George's voice just sounds great in doing that. You know, Mr. Craig.
Yeah, I mean, some of the tracks when we get back together still feel fresh. I mean, for example, Do You Really Want to Hurt Me was recorded on a 24-track tape, but we only used 12 tracks. Very, very few tracks, so it's quite simply put together, and that's what gives it its uniqueness, you know, and that's what makes it feel fresh. Every time we revisit the song, it still feels fresh. And I think that's because of the way it was recorded originally. It wasn't over elaborated, you know, and we didn't have a typical 80s sound, you know. A typical 80s sound is like brassy synth, you know, type of thing. We didn't have that kind of sound. We had our own unique thing, and it came from just being quite simple. I think that's what did it.
Appreciate it.
Right here at the back.
So are you touring, or will you be?
When I get off the plane on Sunday, I've got to go into rehearsals because I'm doing a couple of shows we're doing a couple of shows in Germany, Denmark, London, and just a few other places. So we've got a few shows to do this summer. And then perhaps in the fall there might be a full tour.
No, I mean the thing is we are an active band still, which is incredible after watching that, right? but as George says, that we really do love each other, and there is a magic in the band. I said yesterday I'd love nothing more than to turn around and see John bash in the Skins, and I think it will happen at some stage. I think the sort of silliness of this band is just ridiculous. And we've got a great new single. We're doing a reggae album right now with all our hits. Me and Mikey just went to Jamaica. We worked with Sly Dunbar, Sly and Robbie, and some rhythm tracks, and we're putting all the songs to reggae. And we've got bringing in some special guest stars, like people do these days. So we've just recorded an amazing version of Do You Really Want to Hurt Me, featuring Sia and a young Afrobeat artist called Fireboy, and it's going to be out later this year. And we're also in the process of doing a biopic, which will, so that's going to be interesting too. So there's a lot going on, and we're probably as busy as we've ever been in many ways. So it's thinking it's 43 years ago.
Wow.
You know, when you look back, when we were in the 80s, that's the equivalent of Glenn Miller. Right? Hell, you know, it's amazing, right?
All the way in the back, last row, you've had your hand up for quite some time.
Thanks so much. You guys are my favorite bands of all time. My favorite Culture Club song is Time. Can you tell me a little bit how it came about, and were the lyrics musically, and were the lyrics about the relationship between Boy George and John? Is that the story of that lyric as well?
Still respect them.
Yeah, I can't quite see who it is yet. Yeah, I think obviously most of the lyrics are, you know, about the relationship of John and George. Roy and I worked mainly on the music. You know, George would come with these ideas, lyrical ideas with a melody, and we'd shape it into a song.
Yeah.
But
Time was.
you want to go?
Yeah, I mean, time we took sort of, we were both really into Motown, and Waylon and Dozier, Holland Dozier wrote their songs, and they would change bass lines around different chord structures, and we put the music together, and then John had this idea of this sort of Motown rolling intro beat, and then I always liked George Benson, I wanted to do something with an octave guitar, so I got that sort of guitar part going, and literally we started putting it together, and George would come in and start singing, and somehow he always had lyrics. It was amazing. Just these lyrics, just, you know, these days he doesn't want his phone, But he didn't even have a notebook, did he? I mean, he literally just started singing, like, where's the hell is that coming from? Yeah.
You just spew out of it. You know?
Yeah, I mean, the real,
Sometimes you'd have to say, "All right, that's enough. That's enough."
no, just a real natural gift for writing songs. You know, I've worked with a lot of people over the years, and he's definitely the most prolific person I've ever met in terms of lyrics. And John obviously was in, you know, they had that whole thing going on, and it was causing him to write a lot of lyrics.
Great song, thanks.
Thank you, man.
Pain usually brings something out of you. Last question right here in the back on this side. Yep, yep.
Hi, my name is Jackie, and thank you for being my first favorite band. For all three of you, what's your favorite piece of archival footage in the film?
There's so much great archive.
Yeah.
Yay for Kate
Yeah.
and Mike.
Kate and Mike are amazing. It's,
Yeah.
I mean, one of the craziest pieces we found is that weird clip that, you know, for bands that don't like the look of Culture Club and give you a Clint Eastwood photo.
That
I can't believe I found footage of John playing with the Clash
Yeah,
either.
that's
I was sort of playing. Apparently it was true, so. Footage? No?
Footage, I mean, I don't know.
It was great. They found such amazing stuff. Apparently they were there for 6 months archiving,
Oh,
right?
longer.
Yeah.
Kate and Mike, they worked for well over a year, like a year and a half on this, probably.
Wow.
Yeah. And kept finding stuff, and even until the very end. It was amazing. Yeah.
Editor's nightmare.
I can tell you what the saddest part of the archival footage for me was seeing Bowie singing "We Can Be Heroes" just for one day. I mean, that crushed me because I just couldn't be there and be a hero. So, yeah, that was pretty sad.
Bring it in down to end.
Oh, sorry. I was going to send you away with that.
Not a bad note. If you get a chance, be a hero. That was a pretty nice message.
Thank you guys.
Thank you all.
Thank you.